Tonight, Blues Fest cancelled and Easter restrictions thrust on Byron Bay as COVID spreads within New South Wales. The state government prepares for a crucial by-election with ousted Nationals MP Michael Johnson finally resigning. Toxic drugs allegedly mixed in a blender. The woman accused of killing her boyfriend and Googling how to get away with it. An aerial salute for 100 years. History in the sky above our capital. And players and coaches slam the NRL's new concussion substitute.
This is 9 News with Georgie Gardner.
Good evening. The travel plans of tens of thousands of people are tonight in tatters. The state government signing a last-minute order to cancel the highly anticipated Blues Fest in Byron Bay. It comes as Easter restrictions are thrust on the holiday town after a fresh case of community transmission was recorded.
Byron Bay on a day when it's not looking or feeling its brilliant best. The tourist haven now a COVID hotspot on the eve of Easter.
We are worried about COVID like everybody else.
The first case of community transmission in 2 weeks, a man in his 20s who innocently crossed paths with an infected hens party at the beach hotel last Friday night. The fallout was swift.
Everyone at the Byron Beach Hotel will be asked to quarantine for the full 14 days.
And it's worse for the more than 200,000 people living in the Tweed, Byron, Ballina and Lismore Shire councils thrust back into restrictions. Masks mandatory indoors, the 1 person per 4 square metre rule for venues, and diners must be seated. And gatherings at home have to be limited to 30 people, and their details must be recorded.
To be able to have 30 people at my house over Easter and have half my restaurant seating.
And late today, an even bigger setback.
I think it's untenable at this stage while so much flux is occurring.
And New South Wales Health agreed with the Mayor. The world-famous Blues Festival cancelled for a second year running. The fight to contain the outbreak was not the only battle being fought.
I'm as angry as I have ever been in this 15 months of war against this virus.
And it was a war on numerous fronts against a common enemy.
An orchestrated attack by Morrison government ministers against the states and territories, and it really is quite outrageous.
The first shot was fired in this newspaper article, with federal health officials claiming New South Wales had only managed to roll out half its vaccine doses. Then a federal minister loaded up on the Today Show.
We're going to help the states, but they've got to admit they've got a problem because they've done 3/5 of bugger all.
Let's get this really, really clear. The New South Wales government was asked to roll out 300,000 vaccinations to the groups in 1A and 1B. Of that, we've done 100,000. The federal government was asked and is responsible for 5.5 million people, and they've rolled out 50,000.
I'll stick up for my state and I'll stick up for my workers.
This afternoon, the federal health minister was waving the white flag.
The states and territories are doing a first-class job.
This may be one example of what's wrong. I'm at a so-called vaccine super hub in Melbourne for frontline workers, but the only people wanting to queue are the elderly and the sick. But they've been turned away and told it's not their turn.
It's really a pathetic attempt, and really they should have given it to the states.
Back in Byron Bay, festival goers are packing up, while Brisbane, dealing with its own outbreak, may have seen 2 new cases, but not enough, it seems, to extend its 3-day lockdown.
Fingers crossed, all will be looking good for Easter.
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
9's Ruth Wynne-Williams is in Byron Bay tonight. And Ruth, this last-minute cancellation affects thousands.
Not just that, Georgie, take a look at this rain. It would have been a very wet festival anyway. We certainly saw some very full planes arriving in Ballina in just the last hour. Some very disappointed people getting off the flights there, including musicians. And we've seen car after car driving into this paddock, people expecting the festival to go ahead, to start camping here this weekend. This certainly came down to the wire. There were some very late phone calls between health officials and festival organisers. Festival organisers have just put out a statement. They say they are very disappointed. Georgie, they had hoped to lead the way and show the world that Australia could host a COVID-safe music festival. 15,000 people are now being told to hang on to their tickets while the organisers look for an alternative date. But they'll just have to hang on to their disappointment too, Georgie, because the concern from health authorities this morning was very, very real. And right now in this area, new COVID restrictions are very much in place.
All right, Ruth, thank you. The vaccination stoush with the federal government isn't the Premier's only battle. She's now had to fight a by-election in a marginal seat. Ousted Nationals MP Michael Johnson has finally resigned following a spate of scandals, giving the government a chance to snatch back its majority.
The subject of a sexual assault allegation and exposed for sexting in Parliament, Michael Johnson has bowed to pressure and bowed out of politics.
I'm very relieved that is a good outcome, and of course we look forward to moving forward.
His resignation ultimately coming after the sex worker at the centre of the allegations spoke out.
I don't think he should be able to work in Parliament.
In a statement, Mr Johnson accused the media of harassment and said the airing of the accusation was political. The only way of navigating this situation has been to withdraw from public life. I will fight the allegation and expect to have my name cleared. Suspended from the National Party over the police investigation, but it was the publication of his lewd texts and vulgar videos which prompted a chorus of calls for him to go altogether, led by the Deputy Premier. From John Barilaro today, I want to say to the communities of the Upper Hunter that I am sorry. On the ground, in the now vacant seat held by the government by just 2%, voters have lost respect.
If he is guilty, it's a disgrace.
They should be held to account. They're there to represent the community.
Labor wasting no time descending on Singleton to lay the groundwork for what will be a high-stakes campaign.
The Upper Hunter deserves a Member of Parliament who is there for them.
If the government wins the by-election, it will regain its majority. But if Labor can't snatch the seat under these circumstances, it could prove the final straw for restless MPs looking for an excuse to oust Jodie McKay from the leadership. And she'll be trying to win on a budget after the powerful Health Services Union, unhappy with Ms McKay, walked away from Labor, stripping crucial membership dollars from the party's coffers.
Well, you know, the HSU is a member of the Labor movement. The Labor Party is integral to that, and I respect the decision that they've made.
Both sides with a lot on the line. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
To breaking news now, and there's an unfolding emergency at Greenacre where a burst water main has flooded several homes. Let's go to Ellie Walsh. Ellie, what are you seeing there?
Well, Georgie, what you're looking at tonight is the after that you're talking about. Around 4 o'clock today, a pipe has erupted, sending water gushing several metres into the air, flooding several homes here in Greenacre. This is the aftermath of that burst water main. This is one resident's backyard, now covered in several inches of water.
Like muddy runoff at the moment as well, so I don't know, dirty water. But hopefully it should be shut off soon so it doesn't rise any further. And
now, Georgie, Sydney Water has around 25,000 kilometres of pipe to look after. Fair to say, though, tonight the focus will be here. As for the cause of that burst water main, that is still being investigated.
All right, Ellie, thank you, and our apologies, a few technical issues with that report. A two-car crash blocked off 2 major Sydney roads for 45 minutes overnight. The cars collided at the intersection of the Cumberland Highway and Great Western Highway at Wentworthville just after midnight, causing one to roll on its side. The drivers of both cars suffered only minor injuries. One was taken to hospital as a precaution. A woman charged with killing her grazier boyfriend at a property near Tamworth allegedly conducted hundreds of Google searches, including how to commit murder. Today, the Supreme Court heard that Natasha Beth Darcy allegedly used a toxic cocktail of drugs mixed in a blender in an attempt to make his death look like suicide.
She's a widow from Walker, a small country town where she's accused of murdering her farmer boyfriend, Matthew Dunbar. The 42-year-old was found dead on his multi-million-dollar Merino property, Pandora, in 2017, a property Natasha Beth Darcy stood to inherit and was allegedly willing to kill for. Coincidentally, Darcy's estranged husband, Colin Crossman, was one of the first paramedics on the scene after she reported Matthew dead. In his opening address to the jury, the prosecutor argued Matthew was drugged with a cocktail of drugs, including RAM sedatives mixed in a magic bullet, drugs sourced by Darcy from a vet under a false name. Matthew was later found in his bedroom with a plastic bag over his head, which was connected to a helium tank. The court heard Darcy conducted hundreds of internet searches in the months before Matthew's death, Googling 11 toxic wild plants that look like food, how to commit murder, 99 undetectable poisons and plastic bag suffocation. She also searched, can police see past web history, suicide helium, and how long after suicide is there a crime scene? The jury also told she looked up, will helium show up in an autopsy? And days later, can police see deleted text messages? Darcy has pleaded not guilty to murder, telling police at the time she found Matthew dead and tried to resuscitate him. But today the court heard her defence that she planned and assisted Matthew to commit suicide. The prosecutor argued there was a plan implemented by her to sedate and kill him, adding Darcy knew of her partner's history with depression and she exploited this and killed him in the manner she did to make it look like a suicide. It's the Crown case that Darcy had a tendency to sedate her partners with the intent of causing harm for her own financial gain, once hitting estranged husband Colin over the head with a hammer and burning down the family home as he slept with a cocktail of drugs in his system after she'd fed him tacos. Emma Partridge, 9 News.
The Prime Minister is accelerating a plan to make guided missiles in Australia, saying they are needed to keep the nation safe. It comes as Labor wraps up its 2-day national conference with a pledge to cut taxes on electric cars.
It's cutting-edge, precision-guided, long-range and deadly. And the Prime Minister wants the US-designed anti-ship missile and others like it to be made in Australia.
To ensure that we have what we need to do what's right for all Australians, and to do it with the best partners in the world.
The government is accelerating a $1 billion guided missile building plan and is inviting defence companies to bid for it.
This is a big strategic change, and it's about bringing a degree of complex manufacturing back to Australia to support the Defence Force.
For a simple purpose:
to keep Australians safe, to
hedge against a more dangerous world.
The threat of conflict in our region is growing. It's probably as high as I've seen it in 25 to 30 years.
Anthony Albanese was also making a pitch for the future today.
One of the things that Labor wants to do is to cut the costs of electric vehicles.
Pledging to cut taxes on electric cars and spend $200 million to install 400 neighbourhood batteries across the country.
Community battery which will lower their energy costs and also reduce their emissions.
At the last election, the Prime Minister attacked Labor's plan to boost electric vehicle sales and lift emissions standards.
No, I didn't ridicule that technology. That's good technology.
If not the Prime Minister, then perhaps his ministers.
50% of those apprentices will be driving an electric vehicle under Bill Shorten.
If it feels like an election campaign, that's because Labor believes it's back in the race. Now no one's talking about an early poll and the government looks like the underdog. Chris Ullman, 9 News.
It was an emotional day of testimony in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the American police officer who knelt on the neck of George Floyd. The prosecution called on a number of witnesses, including a mixed martial arts fighter who called the police and an off-duty first responder who said she was blocked from offering assistance.
So feel free to just take a minute.
A frustrated firefighter who just wanted to help.
Tell me what his pulse is right now.
Genevieve Clara Hansen was off duty and on a walk when she found herself on the scene of George Floyd's arrest. She pleaded with officers to provide medical assistance.
Why weren't you able to do any of that?
Because the officers didn't let me in to the scene.
Hansen's chilling testimony was one of many today. MMA fighter Donald Williams was just metres away from officers when he decided to call the police on the police.
And why did you do that?
Because I believe I witnessed a murder.
He too was overcome with emotion, listening back to his call to emergency services.
Murderers, bro, yeah, murderers.
A number of witnesses who could not be identified provided audio testimony, including a 9-year-old who heard paramedics tell Chauvin to get off George Floyd, but he did not follow their instructions.
How did it affect you?
I was sad and kind of mad.
And tell us, why were you sad and mad?
Because it felt like he was stopping his breathing and it's kind of like hurting him.
The court also heard from her cousin, the woman who filmed the viral clip that sparked a mass movement. Darnella Frazier explaining to the court why she decided to film that video.
Because I slowly knew that if he were to be held down much longer, he wouldn't live.
She stays up at night, apologising to George Floyd for not doing more to save his life. In the United States, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
The Porsche driver involved in Melbourne's Eastern Freeway tragedy has been labelled the most hated man in Australia by a judge. Richard Pusey faced a pre-sentence hearing, apologising to the families of the 4 police officers that he filmed and taunted as they died after being hit by a truck last April. The 42-year-old's lawyers say he shouldn't spend any more time behind bars, saying the negative publicity is punishment enough. Firefighters believe a Campsie home wasn't fitted with a smoke alarm when fire took hold last night, an 80-year-old grandmother dying after being pulled from the burning property. Her teenage grandsons were also dragged out by crews. Both are now tonight fighting for their lives in hospital.
Frantic and desperate. That's a 14-year-old boy being pulled from a window. A race against time as the house goes up in flames.
How desperate the men trying to put up the fire is just heartbreaking.
A firefighter forced to break through the security bars with a rescue tool.
He used that to cut the bolts and then physically pry the bars up himself and pull the young boy out.
The teenager, one of 3 people trapped inside. His 16-year-old cousin also dragged out, alongside their 80-year-old grandma, who sadly could not be saved.
It was a very confronting scene, but my thoughts and prayers are with the family. They've lost a loved one, and there are 2 young boys fighting for their life in hospital.
Fire investigators have spent the day scouring through what's left of the property to try and determine what caused this blaze. At this stage, they believe the home was without smoke alarms.
Smoke alarms provide the best way of receiving early warning of a fire in your house. Please make sure you've got a working smoke alarm in your house.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 9 News.
A warning to Sydney drivers tonight with the launch of the Easter Holiday Road campaign just hours away. Bill Hogan joins me from Moore Park. And Bill, when will double demerits come into force?
Well, from midnight tonight, Georgie, but as you can see, police aren't wasting any time on what they expect to be a very busy weekend. They'll be targeting drink, drug, distracted and dangerous driving. Now, the Easter operation will last until midnight of March, and the message from the state government is to look out for each other. Anyone caught speeding, not wearing a seatbelt, holding a phone or not wearing a helmet while riding a motorcycle will cop a hefty fine. And Georgie, these measures are in place for the safety of everyone in hope that the long weekend doesn't end in tragedy.
Bill Hogan, thank you. In Canberra today, the place to look was up as more than 60 aircraft took to the skies to mark 100 years of the Royal Australian Air Force. The Queen also paid tribute from afar in a stirring ceremony marking a centenary of sacrifice and service.
A spectacular show of might streaking a crisp Canberra sky. In formation, a parade of historic warbirds and advanced fighter jets. Super Hornets, F-35s, Hudson bombers, Globe Masters, and the Piece de Resistance, a 10-minute showcase of roulettes, a jaw-dropping display of precision aerobatics, barrel rolls, corkscrews, each aircraft flying just 3 metres apart. The nation's capital was the centrepiece of the Royal Australian Air Force celebration, commemorating 100 years of heroism and courage under fire.
It is the people, not the equipment, that have built the Royal Australian Air Force.
To mark the anniversary, Governor-General David Hurley presented a new Queen's colour.
Over the last century, during times of war and in more recent conflicts, the Royal Australian Air Force has demonstrated its capability, adaptability and reliability in helping to keep us safe.
The ceremonial flag unfurled before the RAF's top brass on the banks of Lake Burley-Griffin. In Her Majesty's absence,
3 cheers to Her Most Gracious Majesty. Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
Before a fly past for the royal salute, a ceremony fit for the men and women who protect and defend our freedom, then, now and always. Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
Tune in if you're about to hit the road. Coming up, the cheapest service stations and the ones to avoid on every major motorway heading out of town. Also, finally allowed out and all fired up. A violent end to a COVID lockdown. And green, gold and a roux in the shoe. Your first look at what our Olympic team will wear at the Tokyo Games.
I know what you see doesn't make sense, but I'm going to support him because I see him behind the scenes.
Finally,
We've spoken about moving. We've spoken about kids.
Melissa opens her heart.
I've heard things from Bryce's mouth.
Okay, like what?
You're going to be single at the end of this.
And betrayal.
Who said it?
I don't want to get into this.
I want to know who said it.
Okay. Jason.
Hits
What?
like a freight train.
Cannot believe that just happened.
Jason,
It's the
just
end of
been
that.
thrown under the bus.
Tonight, 7:30 on 9.
After 4 decades of world firsts, Mitsubishi brings you an Australian first. 10 years warranty with 10 years cap price servicing. Mitsubishi 1010. Built and backed for the time of your life.
Be body smart with Nature's Own Magnesium Chelate 500mg from Chemist Warehouse. It helps support bone and cardiovascular health, relieves mild muscle cramps and spasms, and is just $25.99. Live, look, feel well at Chemist Warehouse.
Macca's new Chicken McPieces. Tender 100% Aussie chicken breast in an irresistible coating. Plus Aussie favourite chicken salt shaker fries are finally here. Now that's too good to keep to yourself.
Don't be a tosser. If it's not in the bin, it's on you.
Get your woolies worth for Easter with 20-pack Cadbury Easter egg crate, 340 grams. Now just $7 each. Save $2.
That's why I pick Woolies.
The pollies can't help themselves. My super doesn't work out for me. I'll be working forever.
Well, we've worked all our lives for this place. We'd hate to have to sell it to fund our retirement.
That's for sure.
Authorised by B. Dean for Industry Super Australia, Melbourne.
The ugly price of progress.
What they're doing to us.
These homes will be bulldozed to make way for a train station.
You're playing with people's lives, it's just not another square box on the map.
Now the fight to protect their castles.
I said over my dead body.
A current affair tonight.
9 News, brought to you by Industry Super Funds.
A raging torrent and a tree threatening to fall. It's been a day of drama on a busy stretch of road at Sylvania in Sydney South. A water main burst on the Princess Highway at 5:30 this morning, swamping a truck dealership and nearby Harley Street. Concerns quickly turned to a large gum tree on the roadside. Emergency crews scrambling to cut it down before it toppled. Fixing the water main was a longer job. Sydney Water was at the site for hours, patching it up. It's one of Sydney's fastest growing suburbs, but Austral locals say their roads are stuck in the 19th century. Drivers are resorting to dangerous tactics to avoid traffic gridlock and bottlenecks, with a major upgrade potentially still years away.
It's a key artery for 20,000 residents. But 15th Avenue Austral is often blocked and locals say in desperate need of a bypass.
It's a nightmare every morning and every afternoon.
Just a handful of two-lane roads connect booming Austral, Rossmore and Middleton Grange to Liverpool and the M7. Locals say it can take 45 minutes to travel just 3 kilometres, leading to scenes like this.
We've seen accidents. There's people doing illegal U-turns, turning into businesses and blocking up their driveways.
It's a road that's basically stuck in the 1900s. We've got thousands of people moving into the area and we don't have a viable road.
A long-awaited upgrade of 15th Avenue currently in the planning phase.
15th Avenue will be Liverpool's gateway to the world.
A new petition calls for a start date and for the planned 4-lane corridor to be widened further. A further 30,000 new homes are currently being built in the Austral area, 100 completed every week. One Liverpool councillor has even suggested a halt on new construction while roads infrastructure plays catch up. The government acknowledges there could be years of traffic pain ahead before the reward.
Well, we're going to continue to work with local council around what is required for 15th Avenue. It's going to be an absolutely critical connector between Liverpool in the east and the airport precinct in the west.
Elizabeth Bryan, 9 News.
Our athletes will wear green and gold on their sleeves and the boxing kangaroo on the soles of their shoes at the Tokyo Games. The uniforms were unveiled in Sydney today for an Olympics many believe will still not go ahead.
Uniforms unveiled under the threat of rain for an Olympics going ahead under the threat of COVID.
It's certainly going to put an extra step in our athletes' training from today onwards when they see this uniform and know that it's waiting for them when they get to Tokyo.
480 athletes will compete in green and gold, the first race getting vaccinations before July.
They're vaccinating doctors and everything, some of the most important people in society. Then, mate, I'm sweet to get the jabs.
Yes, we want to be vaccinated, of course, but if we had to go not vaccinated, then the Games will go on.
For the first time, uniforms include an Indigenous piece, featuring 52 footsteps of the 52 Indigenous athletes to compete in the Olympics.
And then being able to follow their footsteps and, make them proud and then make my family and my culture back home proud, it's just an honour to wear.
Australian uniforms have long courted controversy, from animals and akubras in Los Angeles to Mambo designs in Sydney. This time around, some features are hidden from view.
Inside our shoe, we got a little boxing kangaroo, so you can. So every time we slip it on, we got a little bit of BK with these boxing gloves to encourage us as we walk out the door.
The one uniform missing is that of the opening ceremony. That will be released in May, but it's still not clear how many athletes, if any at all, will march.
We know already that we're going to be in a pretty tight bubble, but what the opening ceremony looks like, we're still to find out.
Charles Croucher, 9 News.
The lifting of England's stay-at-home order has led to wild scenes in the city of Nottingham, where brawls broke out in a park. The gathering, consisting of hundreds, was a clear breach of the new regulations, which allow people to meet outdoors, but only in groups no larger than 6. There were rule breakers as well in Birmingham, with police releasing thermal images of an illegal rave beneath a motorway bridge. He might still be banned from social media, but Donald Trump has found a new platform for self-expression, a web page. The site lists his presidential achievements, claiming he created the most, quote, extraordinary moment in political history and that he dethroned political dynasties. 45office.com will keep his supporters in touch with his America First plans. In the news ahead, new help for children facing a lifelong health battle. It's where the seeds are sown for Sydney's sporting grounds. Next, the desperate operation to save the precious turf.
Exploding with life itself.
Oh, that's so cool.
Is back.
Each team will be given their own snow globe.
Wow, how good is this?
To bowl Australia over.
Colors of the rainbow.
Dive
So pretty in the sky.
into the wonderful world.
We're on the cusp of something amazing.
What a wonderful world.
Of Lego Masters.
The police can't help themselves. My super doesn't work out for me. I'll be working forever.
Well, we've worked all our lives for this place. We'd hate to have to sell it to fund our retirement.
That's for sure.
Authorised by B. Dean for Industry Super Australia, Melbourne.
Bread is a part of life, so why not make life poppier, crustier, and more enjoyable, down to the very last crumb. Abbott's Bakery. Every bit better.
With ING, you've got Australia's most recommended bank by your side. Do your thing.
How do you like your steak? Well done? Medium rare? On sale? Rump steak was $18.99, now $14.99 per kilo. Aldi. Good. Different.
Somehow we have come to believe that there are lucky ones. Ones born with talent, with speed, with strength, while the rest of us watch from the sidelines. That success is given to the lucky few. Luck is something I earn. The harder I work, the luckier I am. How lucky you want to be is up to you. My Muscle Chef delivers fresh, healthy food so I can create my own luck.
He spends his days growing and manicuring piles of turf before they're trucked around the country and laid on elite sporting fields and tracks. But Graham Collis's farm at Pitt Town was wiped out in last week's devastating floods. And as he counts the cost, some famous faces are lending a hand.
On the banks of the Hawkesbury River, Graham Collis's turf farm is bathed in brown.
Yeah, mate, we've had a bit of devastation, but what are we going to do?
His Pitt Town property sowing the seeds to the most precious blades of grass in Australian sport. The SCG, Bankwest Stadium, Randwick Racecourse and a host of major golf courses all sprouted here before the big wet.
Like, I've been in the industry 30 years. Mate, we've got a lot of friends in the industry, a lot of good clients that have all come to help.
Now the rain has finally stopped, attention has turned to the massive job of cleaning up 200 acres of turf choked by soil and silt. Once a field of dreams with no sunlight or air, the root system simply disintegrates.
Everything here was underwater, so from where we are now, it was sort of well over our head.
Origin coach Freddie Fittler knows without grass, there's no game. That's why he and youth charity Rough Track have rolled up their sleeves.
The best feeling you can get is when you can give back.
If we don't have grass, we don't have sports, we don't have, a whole racing and community sports.
Graham estimates the once-in-a-100-year flood will set him back around $500,000. His main worry, though, is for others in the local turf industry. To put it into perspective, 1 week ago, where I'm standing here in the middle of this turf farm, it was completely submerged in 4 metres of water. The last people on this dirt road were actually powering through above on boats.
We'll clean up and we'll go again.
Ellie Walsh, 9 News.
They're usually considered the lucky ones, the brave kids who beat cancer. But for some, the real fight begins when they're disease-free and complications arise. Now, world-first guidelines are on the way to ensure care continues long after families leave hospital.
8-year-old Fred Corbett has had the toughest start in life, but you wouldn't know it.
Because it's just a bit nervous being on TV.
His preschool years were spent fighting cancer.
He'd had a CT scan and they said there's a mass in his brain.
Fred needed surgery and chemotherapy. During that time, he had to relearn how to walk, eat and swallow.
A little bite, that's it.
Then Fred relapsed and high-dose radiotherapy followed.
They said this is the last roll of the dice.
It worked, but there are lingering effects.
Can have difficulty with learning to read or write, with their literacy, and it plays out in friendships and social media.
Up to 80% of kids who've suffered brain cancer or leukemia experience these problems. While Fred is receiving ongoing speech therapy,
Chips and dip.
Others fly under the radar with no support.
It's so important, but it's so hard to get and you have to fight for it.
The launch of new national guidelines include education, timely intervention and long-term monitoring of speech and swallowing difficulties.
We want to maximise their potential and we want to direct any future funding to these measures which assist them.
Brain cancer and leukemia account for about 60% of childhood cancers in Australia. Incidence rates continue to rise, but advances in medical care and treatment have meant more kids are surviving. Fred proudly shows off his school award and wants to one day be a space mechanic.
Building a space garbage truck.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
It's the government department responsible for safeguarding America's atomic weapons. So when this gibberish was posted on the US Strategic Command's Twitter account, there were concerns a nuclear code had been leaked. Turns out it was the work of a child. The social media manager had momentarily left the page unattended. Interpol agents have tracked down a mafia fugitive who'd been hiding in the Dominican Republic by recognising his tattoos in cooking videos he'd posted to YouTube. The 53-year-old man was arrested close to the capital, Santo Domingo, after being in the country for more than 5 years. In 2014, an arrest warrant was issued for him over drug trafficking for the Calabrian mafia. All the fairy floss, fruit and fireworks will once again be on display when the gates fly open for the Sydney Royal Easter Show tomorrow, following a one-year hiatus. And with the developing COVID situation up north, show officials are staying in close contact with Western Sydney health authorities.
The show bags are being stuffed and the sideshow alley dodgems oiled because the countdown is on to the biggest ticketed event in the Southern Hemisphere.
But we're now hearing that we're on track to possibly be the largest ticketed event in the world.
Sydney's Royal Easter Show returns after missing last year due to COVID. And down at the Farmyard Nursery, a new generation of animal babies are ready to meet the city slickers.
We've been down here for a fair while, just get the animals in, nice and early, get them settled, make sure everyone travelled well.
It's a bit tough really, the aperture of this particular vessel, isn't it? The boys and girls from the bush are back in town. The students from Scott's All Saint College at Bathurst getting their beef cattle weighed, ready for the hoof and hook competition.
For a long time, I remember when I was at school, we were doing cattle shows, and Sydney Show in particular was a highlight of the year.
Oh mate, well done, you cleaned your teeth for the show. This part's the hoof. The hook, well, That takes place at the abattoir later this week. Mate, why Ronald?
Because he might end up on a McDonald's burger, I suppose. I'm not sure.
And a new night feature is your own Barbie, looking over the action of the main arena, which comes in a juxtaposition of stylings. The rattle of two-stroke flying machines and the roar of stunt donk, meeting the pioneer carriers of cargo. I tell you what, you'd have a huge turning circle.
Yeah, she takes a bit of getting around.
With the largest pre-sale of tickets in its history, Sydney appears ready to slake an almost 2-year thirst to get back out to the Royal Easter Show. Mike Dalton, 9 News.
Cameron joins me now with sport. Don't mess with the State of Origin, Cam. The message is loud and clear.
It is indeed, Georgie, and it's coming from Junior Paulo, the Blues enforcer, who is one of the many pleading with league officials to not bend the rules, just so Jason Taumalolo can play for Queensland. Coming up, the off-field battle of the big men. And just another headache. Which NRL coaches are blowing up about the new 18th man rule?
Hi.
Hi.
Trouble. Edie's father turned up on the doorstep.
Oh, here we go.
Finally comes knocking.
We could do this. If you want to, you could keep it.
Hey, Grace, Jeremy's taken Edie. This is the night.
Where is he now?
I'm gonna kill him. That delivers He's taken her. a roller coaster shock straight to the heart. Tonight on 9.
Ned's Same Game Multi is available on every NRL game this week. Plus, on Thursday and Friday games, you can pump up your NRL Same Game Multi with Ned's $2 lines. Take it to the Ned's level.
I feel like going back home right now.
This Easter, let's celebrate all the little things that make time together great. The backyard barbecues, kitchen creations, and everything in between. Coles, value the Australian way.
Terry Shear, Australia's leading landlord insurance specialist, provides the cover you need for your property and rental income.
My property portfolio is protected by Terry Shear. I wouldn't trust anyone else.
Call Terry Shear or go online.
Charles, you're very chatty today.
Chatty? I thought you left me forever. I was terrified. You know I can't look after myself.
Dogs suffer from stress and anxiety just like us, so it's important not to misunderstand things like barking as bad behaviour. Available in either a comfortable collar or convenient wall plug-in, Adaptol is scientifically proven to help calm dogs and get them back to their best.
I'm cool, and it's all good.
Don't sit around. Head into Freedom and get up to 25% off leather and fabric sofas and occasional chairs. Up to 25% off furniture and 50 months interest-free store-wide. Ends Monday. Only at Freedom.
Little hot cross bun, beloved bun of mine.
What are you singing?
Well, you know Christmas carols. Easter carols.
Good point.
Dashing through the dough.
No.
Baker's Delight. Nice and simple.
With rugged design and a convenient hands-free tailgate, you're ready to take on your next adventure in style. The all-new Subaru Outback all-wheel drive Touring.
I went straight to the bank. I said, if you don't give me a loan on the spot, I'll walk. It's the only way.
There are other ways.
With an Aussie broker, you can access more than 3,000 products from over 20 lenders. Go straight to Aussie.
Ned's Same Race Multi is available every day on all 3 racing codes. Pump up your odds by selecting 2 to 4 runners to finish inside the top 4. Use Ned's Same Race Multi on the Tancred Stakes this Saturday. Take it to the Ned's level.
This Sports Report, brought to you by Neds. Whatever you bet on, take it to the Neds level.
The NRL's new 18th man rule has been slammed as unnecessary by just about everybody. Players and coaches agree the concussion substitute will rarely be used.
Pointless and irrational. That's the general consensus when it comes to this 18th man rule. The deal is you can use an extra man only if 3 players get concussed.
It's like flood insurance, isn't it? Like 1 in 100-year floods.
He's not wrong there. We've only seen it twice in almost 1,500 games of footy. It happened to the Sharks on the weekend. Even they have given it the thumbs down.
I think making a decision off 1 week's probably a bit rational, but hey, I'm not making those decisions.
3 head knocks don't really matter who's on your bench, mate. You won't be going out there anyway. So I'm not sure why they actually did it in the end. I would have thought 2 head knocks would have been fair.
Nathan Cleary is back from concussion this week. The process to get him cleared was exhaustive.
I'd be terrified to have to go through that it's mental torture that goes for hours. Some bloody hard questions as well.
The Panthers are undefeated. Tomorrow they face Manly, who haven't won a game. Time is running out for the Seagulls to save their season.
They have to be quick fixes when you talk about, at this level.
A few adjustments to this round with the COVID outbreak in Queensland. We'll now have a double header at Cogra on Saturday, Titans v Raiders and Sharks v Cowboys.
The last 12 months we've had to adapt to a number of changes and circumstances and protocols, and for us it's just business as usual.
The Titans will relocate to Sydney until further notice, while Brisbane can travel to Melbourne to face the Storm. Emma Lawrence, 9 News.
The Roosters remain upbeat about halfback Luke Keary's season-ending knee injury. Keary was spotted at the club today as he awaits surgery, already missing one other part of life.
Can't play golf, mate. He'll be absolutely shattered. He's a pretty practical guy, Kez. Obviously, he'll be hurting, but I think he's not going to dwell on it.
The Roosters will look to bounce back from last week's loss when they take on the Warriors on Sunday. Adapt or die. That's the mindset of Eels heavyweight Junior Paulo as he and other NRL giants try to keep up with the frantic pace of the 6 again rule. Instead of running shoes, Paulo pulled on boxing gloves, and he believes it's made all the difference.
With the game's growing speed threatening the place of the big man, Junior Paulo knew a boxing-focused pre-season would allow him to survive and thrive in 2021.
How much weight did you lose, mate?
I shed a couple of kilos in the off-season. It's between 12 kilos from when I started with the boxing. So.
That's a lot.
Yeah, certainly with the rule changes, I knew the game was definitely going to get quicker, and once we played that trial match, it certainly was.
Junior, is the game in danger of getting rid of a big guy like you? I mean, because of the way it's going?
There's been talks about that over the past couple of years. No, not really. I think like I said, you just learn to adapt.
Paulo has a clear view on the bid by Tongan Jason Taumalolo to play for Queensland and hence change the fabric of origin.
You have to be eligible to play for Australia, don't you think? Isn't that the core of it all?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it takes away from the game if we're going to start bending the rules to get blokes across the line.
You chose New South Wales and Australia. Why was that?
Grew up here playing all my footy for, Cabramatta Junior ever since I first started playing footy, and I was born in New Zealand, but all my footy was done here, and feel like I am Australian. Yeah. So, it's always been, I guess, the forefront of footy for myself.
The other frontier, the premiership dream, and a club experiencing a title drought since 1986.
We want to be creating our own bit of history, and we know how rich the club is in history, so it'll be nice to, I guess, add our names to that.
Danny Weidler, 9 News.
Ash Barty's defence of her Miami Open title continues, but she is doing it the hard way. Once again, the Aussie star was pushed to 3 sets, this time by Aryna Sabalenka from Belarus in the quarterfinals. If Barty wins her semi, it will ensure her reign as world #1 will be extended. And long may she rule over us, Georgie.
She's looking good.
Yes.
Thanks, Cam. See you tomorrow. From the M5 to the M2 and Eastern Distributor, a price hike for Sydney's major toll roads. But there is good news on fuel. Next, we name the cheapest places to fill up on the motorways out of Sydney. And a baby boom for Australia's answer to the Easter Bunny.
the ugly price of progress.
What they're doing to us.
These homes will be bulldozed to make way for a train station.
You're playing with people's lives, it's just not another square box on the map.
Now the fight to protect their castles.
I said over my dead body.
A current affair tonight.
Ned's Same Game Multi is available on every NRL game this week. Plus, on Thursday and Friday games, you can pump up your NRL Same Game Multi with Ned's $2 lines. Take it to the Ned's level.
Somehow we have come to believe that there are lucky ones. Ones born with talent, with speed, with strength, while the rest of us watch from the sidelines. That success is given to the lucky few. Luck is something I earn. The harder I work, the luckier I am. How lucky you want to be is up to you. My Muscle Chef delivers fresh, healthy food so I can create my own luck.
And then we're going to a day spa.
Very nice. And you haven't even asked for any money lately, kiddo.
All good money bags. The CommBank app does all my budgety stuff now. Keeps me on track.
Sounds like an app vantage.
Yeah, very advantageous.
App vantage us.
I can't deal.
The app that tracks, budgets and predicts. That's an app vantage.
Easy peasy, steamy, dreamy, tall and tender, broccolini, great and stir fries and linguine. If you're big or if you're teeny, make it fancy, make it easy. Easy, steamy, dreamy, broccolini.
Make any meal special with the one and only broccolini.
If your contact lenses give you the 3 o'clock twitch, switch to Daly's Total One because they stay comfortable for a whole 16 hours. Forget the 3 o'clock twitch. Switch to Daly's Total One.
Get your Woolies worth with Everyday Rewards. This week, spend $20 on fresh meat in a single transaction and collect 5 times points on your total shop. Boost online now, then shop and scan your card. T's and C's apply.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Dreaming of a better night's sleep? Freedom's mattress sale ends Monday. Get up to 50% off all mattresses and sleep easy with 50 months interest-free store-wide. Hurry, sale ends Monday, only at Freedom.
We all seek different in our own ways because different reflects who you are, who you want to be. And nowhere lets you be who you are and find what you seek like the Northern Territory. So if you seek different, this is the holiday for you. The Northern Territory. Different in every sense.
Ned's Same Race Multi is available every day on all 3 racing codes. Pump up your odds by selecting 2 to 4 runners to finish inside the top 4. Use Ned's Same Race Multi on the Tancred Stakes this Saturday. Take it to the Ned's level.
Thousands of Sydney-siders are tonight preparing to hit the road with the Easter long weekend upon us. And tonight, 9 News can reveal the cheapest and most expensive service stations on your journey out of town.
As we hit the road this Easter, our first stop will be to fill up the car. While the petrol price cycle is on the way down, there's still a big difference depending on where you stop.
The gap between the cheapest and the most expensive in Sydney right now is 40 cents a litre.
Real-time data compiled by the state government's Fuel Check app exclusively for 9 News reveals the service stations to pull over or avoid on your trip. For the cheapest E10 in town, skip BP on Anzac Parade in Kingsford and head to Budget Petrol on Bunurong Road in Matraville. If you're travelling on the M4, pull into Enhance Homebush on Parramatta Road and avoid the 7-Eleven at St Clair. On the M5, fill up at Metro Bankstown. It's usually about 17 cents a litre less than Coles Express Kingsgrove. Costco Casula is the cheapest along the M7, and on the M2, Speedway North Ryde is the place to pull in. If you're heading north on the Pacific Highway, it's worth pulling in here at the Caltex Woolworths in Turramurra. It's consistently cheaper than the Coles Express, further up the road at Barowra.
Every dollar adds up, and families have done it tough, particularly last year.
Just before you fuel up the car, get on the fuel app, have a look at where the cheapest price is or in that direction you're going.
Kate Creedon, 9 News.
As we head into the Easter weekend, it will cost even more to use some of Sydney's toll roads. From tomorrow, the M5 will increase to $4.88 for cars and $14.64 for trucks. The Eastern Distributor goes up to $8.29 for cars and for trucks, $16.58. Cars on the Hills M2 main plaza will pay $8.20, while trucks will be slugged $24.59. The Cross City Tunnel will rise to $5.93 for cars and $11.86 for trucks. If you use the Lane Cove Tunnel, expect to now pay $3.44, and for trucks, it'll cost $11.51. The lingering effects of COVID-19 are becoming clearer. A landmark study of Australian patients has found 1 in 3 are still battling symptoms 8 months after contracting the virus. 1 in 5 reported fatigue, shortness of breath and tightness in the chest. The study by the Kirby Institute and St Vincent's Hospital found women and those who received hospital treatment had an increased risk of developing so-called long COVID. They're Australia's answer to the Easter Bunny, and now bilby populations are thriving inside fenced predator-free havens set up by the Australian Wildlife Conservancy. Bilbies have been placed into 5 protected environments across the country, many experiencing baby booms over the past 12 months. Coming up, Amber with the weather.
Tomorrow, if you've had your holiday plans thrown into chaos with the latest COVID outbreak, we reveal what you can do to secure a refund.
And we speak to the Everyone Loves Raymond star about his very different new role. We'll see you from 5:30.
You can do a lot in a couple of seconds. Even with just one hand. I just got Lulu ready for Best in Show. And I just backed the one dog in the next at Dapto. Beautiful. Go win that trophy for Daddy. Now who looks pretty? Right, me.
It's shacking easy to bet anytime, anywhere with the PointsBet app.
Looks like members are getting free and faster deliveries with eBay Plus.
It's like the Fast and the Furious in here.
I found the Furious.
We've turned Mondays into something to make a song and dance about. With Meerkat Mondays! Now you can win prizes every week with Compare the Market. So please download the Symbols app.
Introducing free MasterChef cookware from Coles. For every $20 you spend in one transaction, scan your Flybuys card to earn 1 MasterChef cookware credit.
That's the way to cook like a MasterChef. Coles. Value the Australian way.
My name's Alice. I'm a nurse. I'm going to stay with you.
At Aware Super, we are inspired by our members to breathe life into our communities. As one of Australia's best performing super funds, we have demonstrated that you don't need to sacrifice doing well to do good. Become aware today.
The Australian Ballet presents New York Dialects, a collection of 3 ballets created by New York's best choreographers. On stage at Sydney Opera House from April 6. Book your tickets now.
Want to help keep jobs here in Australia? Well, the power to switch is in your hands. Red Energy, 100% Australian electricity and gas.
The Good Guys Easter Doorbuster deals are on now. 18% off this Bosch washer, 14% off this Hitachi TV, this Haier dishwasher only $4.99. Plus Thursday only get 10% off a huge range across the store. Easter Doorbuster deals only at The Good Guys.
Feet shoulder width, that's your best bet.
You say bet?
Now just grip it and rip it.
A 350-yard bomb. And I went even longer on the Tigers tonight.
4!
PointsBet, it's shacking easy.
It has been a beautiful day, blue skies and sunshine, although it did feel a little chilly at times thanks to moderate to gusty southerly winds. It was a cool start in the city, dipping to 14 degrees, which is 4 degrees below average, before reaching a top of nearly 25 this afternoon, although it felt more like 19 degrees for most of the day thanks to that wind chill. Out west dipping to a brisk 11 degrees, that's 6 degrees cooler than average, before reaching a top of 26 degrees mid-afternoon. Let's take a look across New South Wales. It was dry and mostly sunny, just a few showers in the northern rivers. Top temps generally below average by 1 to 7 degrees with fresh southeasterlies along the coast. Tomorrow, brisk onshore winds will drive showers over eastern Queensland and northern coastal New South Wales, a high keeping the rest of the state dry. A shower or two on the way for Brisbane, 25 degrees. It should be sunny and 25 in Canberra. Mostly sunny for Melbourne, 27, reaching 31 in Adelaide, and a hot 35 degrees on the way for Perth. Some light showers along the north coast tomorrow, but it should only be 1 to 5 millimetres, possibly heavier in that far northeast corner. The rest of the state will be mostly sunny, but still a little cooler than usual, heading for 24 degrees in Bathurst, Newcastle and Coffs Harbour, 25 the top in Batemans Bay, Grafton and in Mudgee. After a possible shower overnight, tomorrow will be partly cloudy in Sydney. There is a 40% chance of a morning shower in the east, bringing 1 to 2 millimetres of rain, but the west will stay dry with light to moderate southeasterlies. Heading for tops of 25 to 26 across our west, including Blacktown and Liverpool, 23 the top in Gosford, Terry Hills and Cronulla, 24 degrees in the city. Looking ahead, Good Friday and Easter Saturday are looking fine, heading for tops of 26 degrees, sunshine for Easter Sunday before a few showers move in on the holiday Monday and then early next week. In our west, some beautiful sunshine, heading for 27 degrees on Good Friday, 29 by Saturday, reaching a sunny 30 degrees on Easter Sunday before those showers move in next week. And after a cold night tonight, it will slowly start to warm back up. Those lows range from 13 to 18 degrees. Georgie?
Thank you for that, Amber. And that is 9 News for this Wednesday. Layla's up next with a current affair. I'm Georgie Gardner. Thanks for being with us. Good night.